Welcome back to I'll Be There For You, and this is episode 6, and I will be talking about wedding shows or wedding expos and why I don't do large wedding shows anymore, but I will do a small venue-based wedding show. So let's get into it. Welcome to I'll Be There For You, the podcast that helps couples with their wedding photography planning with me, William of William Adwin Photography. I have photographed several hundred weddings throughout the years, and I wanted to bring all of that experience to you. So take a listen, make sure to follow, and thank you for stopping by. Okay, I am back once again with episode 6, and this is all about wedding shows or wedding expos. And one thing I'd like to say is sometimes people will call them bridal shows or bridal expos. However, brides and grooms both go to these shows, and really it's just best to call them wedding shows. And a bit of a side note, of course, a lot of people will say it's the bride's day, it's about the bride. However, sometimes there's two grooms, but even in a heterosexual couple, I think it's important that the guys are involved as well, and they're also encouraged to be involved as well. If it's always bridal, then the grooms might not be as interested or as involved. And all of my couples that are heterosexual always tell me that when they're both involved with the planning and both of their wants and needs and their visions kind of come to the table, it's just such a great experience for them as compared to other couples where maybe it's more about one person and the other person kind of just is along for the ride. They tend to just not have as much of an experience or a good experience for the people that are just kind of along for the ride. So let's call them wedding shows. And really anyone planning a wedding show can be going to these events. So I'm going to say this. I know for a fact that some vendors are not going to be happy with what I'm going to say, but that is okay with me. And I have very clear perspective of doing wedding shows for many, many years. And I no longer do wedding shows and large wedding shows. I want to be very specific. I no longer do large wedding shows, but I will do a small venue-based wedding show without a doubt. And I'm going to go into why I have that mindset and that philosophy. I always want to be transparent as I can about all of the topics I discuss. These episodes are meant to educate you based on all of my experience. They're not to tell you what you have to do, but rather offer my perspective from over a decade being in the industry and allow you to make your own decisions. But after I explain everything, I think it'll be pretty clear to you about if you're going to go to a wedding show, what really will be the most ideal show for you. So getting right into it. There's large-scale shows, and then there's small venue-based shows. Simply put, some are really large, and some are really small in terms of how many people are there. But there's a lot more to dive into than just that, and it really comes down to the experience for the couples planning their wedding. That is tremendously important. That is a foundation of my business, the experience. So that is going to be a constant theme throughout this episode. I think the easiest way to do this is to go over the pros and cons of the different kinds of shows. And I will say there's a lot more cons to the large show than there are to the small venue-based show. This is still me trying to be as objective as I can. However, with so much experience and knowing what I know from these large shows, I think you'll understand why I don't do them anymore. So diving into large-scale shows, the pros and cons. Let's talk about the pros first. There are a lot of vendors at these shows. So that's a pro. However, the vendors that are at these shows, I'm going to go into a little bit later. Another pro is they are usually free or just a couple bucks. So not too much of an investment there for you. The last pro is there are giveaways, there are prizes, there are discounts, all of that kind of stuff. Now, keep in mind that a pro on the surface, when you dive deeper, might actually become a con. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more. So now it's time for the cons of the large wedding shows. And So one of the cons is these can be very crowded. 1,000 plus more people, and it could take a really long time to speak to a vendor. And these large shows they're not at wedding venues. They're just at a hall somewhere, a stadium, or just a space to put as many people in as possible. So it's not even actually at a wedding venue. They can certainly be loud because there are so many people. And I asked for years, I asked my couples when I was doing these large shows, what was your experience like? What did you think of everything? And the one word they always used was overwhelming. It was just so much for them. It was just super overwhelming for them. So there's going to be a lot of people there. It's going to be loud. The overall production of these shows is not prioritizing a great experience for you. I'm going to talk about more experience-driven elements of the small wedding-based shows later. So I'm going to get into why the experience is not prioritized with these large shows, or how it's not prioritized. Because these larger shows are free or almost free, there are a lot of giveaways and prizes. More of the crowd will not be as serious about their wedding planning. So if you're saying, hey, everyone, this is free, or it's just a couple bucks, we're going to give a bunch of stuff away, you're not going to you're not going to get as many people that are as serious about their wedding planning and prioritizing that. What a lot of people will do is they're going to prioritize winning something. They just want to get some kind of raffle. Usually there's like a big vacation giveaway, honeymoon giveaway, and people want that. So that's like their priority for being there. If you're there trying to be serious about your wedding planning, you're not always necessarily in good company, because there's people that are prioritizing just trying to win stuff, and that could affect your experience, and I'll go into that. Now, this does not mean that no one there is serious. It's just that when something is free or almost free, again, there's a greater chance of people that aren't going to be that serious about the actual planning. They're going to want some kind of giveaway. So what does this mean? It means when you are waiting in line to speak to a vendor, there are going to be other people in line getting the vendor to sign a sheet of paper. And sometimes like butting ahead of you and waving this piece of paper in front of me when I'm trying to talk to someone else or any other vendor. And what this piece of paper is the producers of these large shows, they give all of the couples a piece of paper. It has every vendor's name on it. And the producer says you have to go around to all of the booths to get everyone's signature from all of these vendors, so that you can be entered into this huge raffle, honeymoon, whatever giveaway it might be. So I've literally been talking to couples, having a serious conversation about their planning. Someone steps in front of them and starts waving a paper in my face. That's not a good experience for especially the couple that's trying to talk to me. It's not a good experience for me. It's not a good experience for anyone. And that's just something that I really did not like. And of course, couples didn't like that either. So I'm just looking at my notes. Yes, I've had people just wave that in my face. It's more likely that there will be people in a vendor's booth looking for giveaways or gift bags. So like every vendor's space is kind of like their little office and their little real estate. If you're serious about planning your wedding, you don't want to be in that space with other people that are trying to get, oftentimes multiple people just trying to get that paper signed, stepping in front of you, or just taking up space when they're really not even interested in talking to me or any other vendor. Also, I used to have these little gift bags for people that would talk to me. I can't tell you how many people would just come into my booth, step by me, step by other people that are trying to talk to me or actually get information for their planning, and they literally just grab these gift bags. They don't talk to me. They grab it. Sometimes they grab more than one, and they just take off. That is not something I'm okay with. That's not something that I want to be a part of. And it's also something that I don't think couples that are serious about their planning would want to be a part of either. Now, the next con of the large produced wedding shows, and this is the biggest issue I have, it's the lead list. So what is a lead list? I'll get into that. The lead list is the personal contact information for everyone that has signed up for the show, all the couples that have signed up. In my experience, the producers of these shows do not make it very clear that all of the vendors that are signed up will get their personal information. I have asked couples for years and years when I was doing these large shows if they were aware that their personal contact information, I'm talking about your email, your phone number, so people can call you, text you, email you, 99% of all the couples I asked were completely unaware that their personal information was being given out. And then the couples tell me that they get bombarded in emails and phone calls and texts. People have had to change their email address, which is really unfortunate. And planning a wedding in and of itself, it becomes a full-time job. And people have everything else to do in their life. They have their regular jobs, and they just have so much going on. This is something that's completely unnecessary for them to have to deal with, this bombardment. The producers might say that they tell the couples, and I've talked to producers about this, but there's a fine line between like some fine print somewhere and the couples really understanding that their information is being given out and what that means. Because unless you're a wedding planner, unless you've gone through this, unless you've planned multiple weddings, you don't know what this is going to be like. So it might be buried in the fine print that your information is being given out, but it is not made clear. That is for sure. And this is, again, from years and years of doing these shows. I have talked to producers. I have said, you have to make this more clear, and they simply don't. When I did these shows, I would never use the lead list. Me personally, I would never use the lead list. I would only contact people that personally gave me their information. This is how the entirety of the show really should be ran, in my opinion. The producers of these large shows, they won't stop with the lead list, though, because it's the producer's currency, if you will, to market to vendors. There are a lot of vendors that want this personal contact information for the couples so that they can spam them, so that they can email, text them, put them in an email or texting campaign, whatever the case might be. I don't spam, and that has never been a part of my business model. Unfortunately, it is a part of a lot of the vendors' business models that are in these large shows. Now, not every vendor that is in these shows. And I want to say that because, I have done these shows and I have ethical big business practices, which is why I stopped doing these large shows. So if a vendor is at one of these large shows, I am not saying they are a bad vendor necessarily, but what I am trying to do, I'm trying to make it very clear to you, is what happens behind the scenes. And I know other vendors that used to do these large shows as well, and they stopped doing it for some of the same reasons, or for all the same reasons that I stopped doing it. You know, it's a learning experience. It's only something that you figure out over time. Another con of these large shows is they claim to have the best vendors in the area. However, after years and years of doing these shows, there is never any kind of qualification or standard asked or expected of me or any other vendor. So to say the best is simply just marketing. Even when I first started shooting weddings, when I only had like one or two weddings in my portfolio, that was all the experience I had, I was still able to sign up for these shows because if I gave the producers money, they would give me a booth, and it was as simple as that. And at that time, I certainly wasn't the best wedding photographer at all. I didn't even really have much experience, and so there isn't a standard, and so they're saying they're the best vendors, but they simply just take any vendor that's going to pay them. I've also seen countless vendors at these large shows. They pack up their booth early. They leave the show before the show is even over, or they don't even show up to these shows. Or they don't show up and then they'll put a sign up and just says, hey, here's some information. And there's not even a human being there to talk to people. And I keep coming back to experience. How can you provide an experience, especially as a photographer, when I'll be following people around for 8, 10, 12 hours? I've already photographed 14-hour wedding days. How can I even start to explain how important the experience is that I provide if I'm not even there talking to people? So how can you have the best vendors when some of them don't even show up, they pack up early, or maybe they just don't even have a lot of experience? So I'm not saying don't allow a new vendor to be at a show. I would just say don't claim that you have the best vendors when you don't actually have any standard for any vendor that's at the show. So as you can see, there are a lot of cons about the large shows, and some of it, especially the lead list, to me is simply unethical business practices, and it encourages spamming and does not prioritize the experience for the couples. For these reasons, I decided to stop doing these large-scale shows because I don't want my brand associated with any of that. The foundation of my business, before photography even starts, is the experience that I provide to couples. I always make a point of that experience being a great one, so I will never do large wedding shows again. So moving on to some positive things, small venue-based wedding shows. These are the kinds of wedding shows that you want to go to. Now, I am going to start off with some cons, but what I will say is that there aren't a lot of them, and also on the surface, what might seem like a con, it really isn't. So I'm trying to be objective here, so I am going to call them cons. However, they're really not, and I'm going to explain to you why. So a con, a perceived con of a smaller venue show is they might cost more money. It might not, but it might cost more money. However, there's a reason for that, and I'm going to go into that a little bit later. So the money is just not, they're not just charging you for no reason. There's a reason, no different than if you go out to a great restaurant, you go out to see a great show, you're being charged for a reason. Another quote-unquote con is there might not be giveaways, or might not be as many giveaways. However, like we discussed before, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Remember what I said about attracting couples that prioritize free stuff over planning and being serious about their planning? You know, I mentioned that earlier. That takes away from the experience for a couple that is serious about their planning. So if you're looking for giveaways and free stuff, you might think of this as a con. However, trust me when I tell you, if you're serious about your wedding planning, you don't want to be going somewhere where people are prioritizing just free stuff. You're not going to be in good company. And then another con, perceived con, but really it's not. Not as many vendors are going to be at these shows. However, the vendors that are at these shows are going to be hand-selected by the venue. So really, these aren't cons, but they're perceived cons. And I wanted to address them because some people might be like, well, I don't want to go to this small wedding show. There's maybe only 2 photographers there, and these large shows have 12 photographers there, and that's because they had space and photographers were willing to spend money, and the producer was happy to take that money. So you might think, oh, it's a con, there's only 2 photographers, or maybe there's only 2 florists, or whatever the case might be. Trust me when I tell you, if you're serious about planning, none of these things are really cons. So let's go into the very clear pros, which I kind of already started getting into. These smaller venue-based shows are focused on what is the most important thing, and that's the experience for you as a couple planning your wedding. So you might be charged something, maybe not, but you might be charged something, but that money is going to you being wined and dined. There can be butlered hors d'oeuvres, drinks, cocktails, some food, live entertainment, musicians, decor, all of this. For the large shows, maybe once in a while there'll be like one vendor that has like free buffalo chicken dip, and that's about it. It's not the same thing, not the same thing at all. Another pro is you're in an actual wedding venue. What better place to be if you're planning a wedding than to be in an actual wedding venue? I mean, just the ambiance says weddings. It's not just some stadium or hall. And so you can actually do a walkthrough of this venue because you might be interested in that venue. Or maybe you didn't know you were interested in the venue and you go there and you're like, you know what, I'm literally immersed in this venue. This is not an opportunity I might normally, I might not have normally planned for, but here I am. And this is a venue that I've just fallen in love with. You're probably not going to fall in love with just some random hall that, isn't an actual wedding venue. So these are all really good things. These shows are usually not as crowded. They're usually a smaller scale. Everything is smaller scale. And whenever you have a smaller scale, this is no different than any other industry. If you look at the restaurant industry, if you go to a chain restaurant or you go to a restaurant where there's one restaurant or maybe two restaurants, it is so much easier for that business to have quality control for the food and the service that they're providing. So these shows are smaller, and so they're more intimate, they're more, quiet, and it's just a nicer experience. The couples that are at these shows, as I mentioned, they're more serious about their wedding planning. So you're going to be in good company. And you could actually maybe learn something from other people because the person next to you isn't going to be butting in line, waving a piece of paper, trying to get that signature from a vendor. They're there as well. They're genuinely interested in planning their wedding day. Moving on, there are, let's see. Oh, I kind of mentioned about, there's no paper for everyone, all the couples to sign and get all the vendors to, initial for some kind of big giveaway. Again, that becomes a distraction. That becomes intrusive. A huge thing is there's either no lead list, or if there is a lead list, it is abundantly clear that the small amount of vendors, and this is much smaller scale, that these small, maybe the two or handful of, photographers there, or the two florists or the two hair and makeup artists, maybe will get your contact information. But there's either, in my experience and from venues I've talked to, oftentimes there's no lead list at all because they don't want any kind of bad experience for people. And it's up to the couple to give their personal information to a vendor most of the time. Or in some rare circumstances, maybe there is a lead list, but they make it abundantly clear. It's like you can't even sign up unless it's like that your information is going to go to the vendors, if that's okay with you, if you find that to be a convenience. That's really the only reason. And then the vendors at these shows actually are great vendors because they're invited by the venue. So the venue doesn't just take any vendor. Behind the scenes, the venue reaches out to vendors that they know are great vendors. These are usually vendors that have worked at that specific venue, or that the venue has some knowledge of, knowing that this vendor is going to do a great job through reputation, through reviews, through doing research. But usually these vendors have worked at, for example, the photographer has photographed at this venue. So the venue is going to privately reach out and say, hey, would you like to be at our wedding show? So if they say we have some of the best vendors, they actually do, because they're actually doing their homework. So with all of these things said about large shows and small venue-produced shows, I think it's pretty clear why I will only do smaller venue-based shows from here on out. The smaller shows, they care about you, they care about the couple, and they care about the experience that you are having. So that is everything I have to say about wedding shows. I hope that you take this into consideration when you're planning your wedding. If you do want to go to a wedding show, I would try to go to a small venue-based wedding show. Now, if for some reason you don't really have a choice, or for whatever reason you still want to go to a large produced show, that's certainly fine. What I would recommend is making up a phone number. Don't give them your real phone number. Don't give them your real email. Make up an email, because, again, you will get spammed without a doubt. And to avoid the crowds, if the wedding show, for example, is, maybe from 11 to 3 p.m. on a Sunday, I would recommend going in the last hour. or so, maybe last hour, maybe last 90 minutes, because in the beginning, there's going to be a large line. A lot of people are going to be waiting to get in line. Now, there will be people there later because that might be when the big giveaway is. But later in the day, a lot of people will just be kind of hanging out waiting for that giveaway for the people that want the giveaway, but they aren't necessarily in the booths. So in my experience in the years that I've done at the large shows, the last hour, the last 90 minutes, there are less people in the actual vendor booths. There might be a bunch of people there, but if you're actually trying to go to speak to a vendor that you like or find out more information about a vendor, I would recommend going towards the end. So that is everything I have to say, and thank you for tuning in once again. And please leave a review. Please follow and like and refer to anyone planning their wedding. And if you're a planner, I hope this is helpful information for you and for your couples. And I'm always happy to take any recommendations for any topics that you want me to cover. So thank you again for listening, and we will catch you soon.